Desh here. Today, I'm going to cover ESO terms and lingo. ESO, of course, stands for Elder Scrolls Online. ESO is an MMO, meaning massively multiplayer online, where players from all over the world could play together at the same time on the same server. Now, there are a lot of terms to cover, so let's get started. I tried my best to split them up into two categories, general and gameplay. GG. Get it? If not, GG stands for good game, or you could also say GF for good fight, usually after a PvP match. LF means looking for, as in looking for a certain type of gear, maybe after a dungeon or trial, or LFG, which is something you might type in zone chat when you're looking for a group for a dungeon or trial. Something else you might see in zone chat or maybe guild chat is WTS or WTB for want to sell or want to buy. NPC stands for non-player character, such as a quest giver, or a character you can interact with in-game but isn't controlled by a real player. PUG means pickup group. This means you group up with random players, and depending on the trial or dungeon, it can be a little bit of a struggle bus, especially if some of the players aren't familiar with some of the mechs or mechanics of the fight. PROG or PROG group means you're in a progression group where you don't expect to beat it on the first time, but you keep going back, making progress each time, learning the mechanics, and eventually taking it down. A good example of this would be maybe Fanglair Hard Mode or Veteran Sunspire. RNG stands for Random Number Generator. This basically means how likely something is to happen, whether it's the mechanics in a fight or your chance at a rare item when it comes to in-game loot. RP or ERP stands for roleplay or exotic roleplay. Say you have a foot fetish and you want to find like-minded friends to form a guild about that. I did say in-game foot fetish, didn't I? Didn't I say that? TP means teleport or to travel. Guild means a formalized group that organizes things like dungeon runs, trials, or events, and GT will stand for Guild Trader, where you can buy and sell items to other players. HS stands for Heavy Sack, which contains loot with resources. Main means your main character, while alts mean your alternative characters. Characters in ESO are also often called TOONs, by the way. Meta means most popular option, whether that be race, build, gear, etc. Min-max means making every stat as good as possible and fine-tuning your character to max to optimize performance. Now, let's cover terms for gameplay. PvE means player versus environment, such as questing, dungeons, or trials, while PvP means player versus player, where you team up with others in your faction for open world PvP, like in Cyrodiil, or in the sewers, or when you're participating in BGs or battlegrounds, such as Capture the Relic, Chaos Ball, or Deathmatch, where it's 3 groups of 4v4v4. In PvE content, you'll have ads, also known as mobs or trash fights, basically meaning additional mobs you have to kill on your way to each boss fight. In battle, AoE means area of effect, usually a circle or a cone, while cleave means hurting all the things around the thing you're attacking. Dots mean damage over time. An example of this would be a skill called Endless Hail. These skills are used by DD, damage dealers, or DPS, which also stands for damage per second. Healers, we use something called HOTS, meaning heal over time, such as Illustrious Healing. Referring to other roles, you'll see MT for main tank or OT for off tank. Usually there will be one tank in a dungeon or arena, but in trials you'll also have an off tank. Typically the main tank will grab the main boss, while the off tank will grab smaller adds, unless there's a mechanic like in the trial Mauve Lacage, where the tanks will need to swap. FPS stands for frames per second, and of course, more importantly, fashion per second. I'll go ahead and link that video down below if you're looking to seriously up your TOON's fashion sense. Bugged means a boss is stuck, or maybe one of the mechanics is not working as intended. HP stands for health points, or how much health or life something has, while MP stands for magic or MAGICKA points. AP means alliance points. It's a currency earned from PvP, not to be confused with attribute points, which refer to your health, magicka, and stamina. CP stands for champion points. You can earn up to 810 champion points, and each time you level, you could spec these into a passive tree that increases various stats on your character. CC stands for crowd control. Crowd control is more used in PvP, but basically it's when a skill is used to control enemy movement. So a skill I use a lot on my tank is Dark Talons. This locks them into place and stops them from moving, thus crowd control. But it can refer to any skill that is used to stun or disable an enemy. CD or GCD refers to cooldown or global cooldown. Keeps you from using an ability for a specific length of time. LOS stands for line of sight. This is a tactic used in PvP or as a strategy move in some dungeons where you and your party will hide behind a wall and stack up some adds nicely, saving time and allowing you to kill them much faster. Pull refers to pulling aggro. You usually hear a tank say they're going to pull and they're about to start the fight and they're going to taunt the adds or the boss. Aggro means aggression, so pulling aggro means pulling aggression, usually when you poke the adds. Trials are this game's version of raids, so it's 12 in a group, and usually some of the BIS, or best in slot gear or weapons, come from trials. HM stands for hard mode, meaning more adds, harder mechanics, and some of the dungeons guarantee a motif dropped from completing hard mode. And some dungeons even offer a really cool skin or personality when you complete hard mode, in addition to no death and speedrun. And for a link to achievable skins you can get in the game, I'll go ahead and link that below as well. RIP does indeed stand for rest in peace when your character dies, and wipe is when the entire party dies. Spammable refers to a skill that you spam, for example, Brawler, while Execute refers to a skill that you use when the boss is low on HP, usually at around 30% or less, and an example of this would be Reverse Slice. Parse and Rotation. When you parse, you are practicing your DPS rotation on a trial dummy. You don't need to worry about fight mechanics or staying alive, but for 5 minutes straight, you literally just focus 100% on your damage output. This is great for in-game content, especially vet trials, where you get your rotation down to where it's almost like second nature, and so that way when you are in those fights and you are worried about staying alive and fight mechanics, your damage output is still very high. Weave is when you're weaving in LA or light attacks to increase DPS, or HA for heavy attacks to get resources back. Animation canceling is getting credit for casting the ability but skipping the drawn out animation. And I'm actually going to link Lucky's guide below for more detailed explanation if you're interested in that. Ult or ulti refers to your ultimate ability, usually the most powerful ability on your bar that usually has a cooldown or needs to be charged up before you can use it again. And I think that's about it, guys. Could list every abbreviation for every dungeon and trial in the game, but for the sake of keeping this video short and sweet, I try to focus on the most important terms. But if there is something you think I missed, please feel free to let me know in the comments. And be sure to check out the written guide below and justlootit.com for build guides, beginner tips, and more. I'm Desh. I stream ESO 5 days a week on Twitch. Come by if you have any questions or want to say hi, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys!